Welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel. Here today, guys, as we are going to have full reaction from that stunning win on Sunday at the Camp Nou. Barça 4, Athletic Club 0. We're going to be talking all about the performance, of course, the brilliance from Ousmane Dembele with a hat-trick of assists, but we're also going to be talking, crucially, about that system change from Xavi. It was very much a surprise that we saw 4 midfielders deployed and a change in shape. What exactly did we see, and why was it so effective last night? It is all coming up. The full breakdown for you. So come on, and let's do it. Because if we do indeed kick off with the man himself, who was rightly named as the man of the match. I mean, to be fair, it couldn't have gone anywhere else last night. 4 goals that we had for Barça, and in each of them, Ousmane Dembele was heavily involved. Scoring the opener there with his head, that was a first for Dembele, and then providing 3 assists. And he was absolutely unplayable. From the very start of the game, of course, he came back into the team. He'd been away. Maybe that helped with it. Maybe that helped with the motivation, the real hunger, and maybe as well a bit of freshness. Maybe Dembele needed a bit of a rest on the sidelines here to come back in and really show exactly what he was all about. Phenomenal from him. But I do have to say, guys, what is fascinating about this, and especially looking at Xavi's words after the game on Dembele, the expectations that Xavi has from the Frenchman. Because Xavi said after the game, with wingers they can have good or bad plays in the game. He said, but with Dembele, we want him to keep with the good things out on the field. He said, if you're not playing well, sometimes you've got to limit yourself. You've got to play more simply, and he has to understand that. And that's a really interesting quote there after a performance like this, to actually maybe talk about the games before, maybe when Dembele wasn't at his best, when he wasn't showing the good things, and Xavi there just offering different words of advice. And he went on to say, we always want Dembele to play at this level. What we're seeing from him tonight, that's the Dembele that we want to see there. Xavi encouraging consistency. He said, that's why I've always wanted him to stay here, and that is why I gave him so much confidence. And I think from Xavi, what we're seeing with Dembele is a very close relationship, and I think that almost allows him to talk like this. Because after that kind of performance, there's not many coaches, I feel, that would come out there and openly say, well, we want more of this. We want you to do this more often. But I think Xavi has that kind of relationship with Dembele whereby he knows what he can do. He can see the quality and he expects more. He wants to bring more out of Dembele, and I think that's good to see. Because if we can see this kind of version, this kind of quality from Dembele week in, week out, you've got a world beater on your hands. You have a player here who is absolutely unplayable, like I say, but what we do need now is consistency. And speaking indeed about Dembele, I would also like to give a word here to Ferran Torres, who came on last night and once again had a real impact in the game, had a positive impact indeed. And I think what we've seen from Ferran recently is definitely a real improvement in confidence. You saw him obviously come on against Real Madrid, score a goal in that game. He then got an assist, brilliant assist that it was to Ansu Fati against Villarreal. And last night taking his chance really well there. Good ball in from Dembele and a fantastic finish from Ferran. That's the kind of movement that we expect. That's the kind of touch and poise in and around the area that we want to see, and that is definitely the finishing touch that we know that he can provide. But also what I would just like to say on Ferran is that I think he and Dembele can do a lot more together. I felt this now for a while, looking at them as well last season, the combinations that we saw from them, I think those two can strike up a really good partnership, because you think there about that movement from Ferran, how clever he is, the kind of positions that he can take up, the runs that he makes in and around the area, and then you think of Dembele, the quality he has in putting balls, low balls, high balls into the box. He is so good there in his vision, and I think those two together certainly can combine more and more. And as time goes on at Barca, I'm sure we're going to hopefully see more and more of that. But I do just want to have a word as well on Sergi Roberto, another one of the goal scorers last night, but unfortunately for him, it's not good news indeed. We saw him go off at the end of the game. They're really in pain with that shoulder problem, and unfortunately it has been confirmed by the club that he has dislocated his shoulder. That now is going to leave Roberto on the sidelines there. Reportedly right now, around 1 month of action he's going to miss. And of course now, with that winter break coming up in the middle of the season, that's likely to mean now that we're not going to see Roberto in a Barcelona shirt again until the team return in New Year. And that is a real shame for Roberto to be ruled out there, because it was such a good display from him last night, also down that right-hand side, combining running with Dembele, really tearing Athletic apart on that right side we were. Roberto was a big part of that. And we're just having such bad luck right now with these injury problems. But if we do indeed there go now from individuals to more of the team look, and indeed that system change that we saw from Xavi, which before the game, like I said yesterday, guys, it was a big surprise. I don't think anybody really saw it coming, and I say that because Ernesto Valverde came out after the game. Like I say, he was very much shell-shocked from what he'd seen during the 90 minutes, and he openly said, I was very surprised. He said, I was very shocked by the lineup from Xavi, the use there of 4 midfielders and Pedri on the left in the team. He said that unsettled Athletic Club. It made them very, very uncomfortable there, and that's exactly what we want, guys. We've spoken a lot recently about teams and opposition here coming to play us and being comfortable, being very comfortable defending against us. But I think these last 2 games, we've taken the opposition out of that comfort zone. We've worked them really hard. We've put them in unfamiliar areas, and that is what we have to do. And it's interesting because we've also recently spoken about the 4-2-3-1. We spoke on the channel about the benefits of that formation and what a switch maybe could bring out of some of our players, and we didn't really know at the time whether Xavi would make that switch, whether he would be quite set in his ways, whether he would be stubborn and stick just with that rigid formation. And I think what we've seen here is he is open to change. He is happy to try new things, to be fluid, and to be flexible in his game plan, because this wasn't due to injuries. This wasn't something here that he just got forced into overnight. This was a clear approach, a clear counter there against what Athletic were going to bring. It was very, very well thought up. And like I say, it worked perfectly. Because I think, first of all, guys, when you're looking at the formation that we saw from Barcelona last night, and especially, specifically in this game against Athletic Club, it was very much in a bid there to counter what they were going to do. Because Athletic here, like I say, have the 2 holding midfielders. They also play here with sort of 3 along just in behind the striker. And I think what Xavi wanted to do was make sure that we didn't lose that midfield battle. Because against Real Madrid, they of course had their 3 in here, but they also added Valverde, and he was sort of that 4th man in midfield. And last night we had Frenkie and Busquets in deeper positions. We had Xavi once again playing nice and close to Robert Lewandowski, but we also had the addition here of Pedri, who was almost being asked to play in that half space and really slip in between the lines of Athletic. I think they really struggled to pinpoint where he was going to be. The position was certainly something that was strange to them, and maybe even strange to us, but it really added that unpredictable feel. And of course, all of our good work came down the right-hand side as well, but there was definitely more emphasis on the midfield. That is something we worked really hard to do these past 2 games to make sure we have threats much more balanced across the field. And I think when you are looking at that shape indeed, guys, there is a reason I feel that last night we saw the players take it on well and actually seem like they enjoyed playing it. I think that's the key here, because for many of these players, they were actually working in positions that really suit their characteristics. And I want to start with Frenkie de Jong. He, of course, is the main one that we've spoken a lot about recently, playing in his more natural role. Now, we saw him against Villarreal play very, very well in a 3. Now, it was just a 3 in midfield, and he was absolutely fantastic here as the pivot. But one thing that you do say about de Jong is when he makes those runs forward, and he does them brilliantly, time and time again, it is fantastic. But when he's there alone, if he makes that run forward and loses the ball, then there is nobody there to protect him. There is nobody else in that deeper role to sort of cover if he was to lose possession in this kind of area. But that's the key, and that is why de Jong loves playing with a partner. Because last night we saw him play directly alongside Sergio Busquets, and what that means is if Frenkie makes that run forward here, if he gets involved in the attacking half of the field and something goes wrong, if he does lose the ball, you have that protection. We're not just going to be there cut apart down the middle, because there is that added layer, and that is why de Jong enjoys much more freedom in this role. It worked well again last night, and certainly is one of the benefits of this formation. I think as well, when you're talking about Sergio Busquets, it is very helpful, in my opinion, to have players a lot closer to him, actually making sure there that you almost protect him in a way. I think that's what Xavi tried to do last night, because obviously if he's alone in a 3, there's a lot more space there. There's a lot more empty room that Busquets has to cover. There's a lot more ground that he has to make his way through, and he doesn't want to do that. So it's better there to have players closer and protect distracting Busquets in a way. And I think it's really interesting here when you're looking at Xavi and Pedri, because obviously Xavi seems to work really, really well down the middle. He's tenacious, he's energetic, he's everywhere in and around Lewandowski, and I think that helps Lewandowski a great deal. But I do just wonder, what would it look like here to reverse those positions? Because Pedri out on the left-hand side did a lot of good work. We also saw him there actually when he broke through at Barcelona under Ronald Koeman. I remember him playing on the left-hand side here against Juventus and having an absolutely wonderful game. He is very good there, but I do just wonder there, what would it look like with Xavi playing in the half space? We've seen that in the past as well. And then Pedri directly behind Robert Lewandowski. I think that's something that we should definitely consider having a look at in times to come there with Xavi. Obviously for this game, he had a certain plan to play Xavi in there. And also, guys, what this meant was that because we had a lot more threats in the centre of the field, because we had so much more going on in the middle of the pitch, it was almost as though at times Athletic Club, they were so focused on what was happening here, and especially with Pedri coming inside. What that actually meant then was that Balde had space to get forward. Again, we're talking about those overlapping runs and all that room, and Nico Williams spent a lot of time tracking back. That is how you keep a winger quiet there. Make him defend instead of thinking about going forward. But what that also meant as well is that Dembele had so much space yesterday. He was allowed a lot more room than usually he'd be having, and Roberto, of course, was overlapping and inverting his runs as well. It was all working very, very well, and Athletic Club simply could not cope with what we were doing. And I do think, guys, this is when it's going to get very, very interesting and really intriguing for us Barcelona fans, because the question now is going to be, well, we've seen how that worked. We've seen as well the positive changes, the good things that it's brought once again. We said exactly the same thing after the game against Villarreal. So now, what's going to happen against Bayern? Because obviously, things working against Villarreal, things working against Athletic Club, it's good, it's positive, it's certainly a big step in the right direction for Barca. But the question now is going to be, what is Xavi going to do against Bayern Munich? That is a game that is going to test us regardless of what we've got going on in the Champions League. That is a game where we want to be at our best to show what we can do. And all the emphasis now and all the questions, they're going to be on that game. And I am fascinated to see how we're going to line up, how we're going to set up, and how it's going to work in a game like that, how it could work in a game like that. Please do let me know, guys, what you thought of the new system, the way that it worked, the positive aspects that it brought the team, and what you believe we could see on Wednesday at the Camp Nou against Bayern. I'll be looking out for all of your thoughts, and of course tomorrow we're going to have all the build-up for that game right here on the channel. Thank you again for watching today, for getting involved, and for all of your support. I hope you enjoyed the video, just like I hope you enjoyed that performance, and hopefully there will be plenty more of them to come as well. I will see you soon, guys, as always. But until next time, as always, Visca El Barça.